Inside the Magic, show number 425 for May 26th, 2013. It is Sunday, May 26, 2013. This is show 425 of Inside the Magic, and as always, I'm your host, Ricky Briganti, and we have a big show this week following up on several days of really exciting things going on at many theme parks across the country, Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, and even beyond. So before we get to all of that, I invite you to visit our website over at InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news, articles, and plenty more. And if you ever have any news, tips, questions, comments, or anything you want to write in with, you can do so by emailing me at ricky@insidethemagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel. Walt Disney World offers to save you money all summer long are available now all the way to the fall. Travel between June 13th and September 28th and save up to 30% at select Walt Disney World resort hotels with free dining available for Walt Disney World guests for arrivals between September 2nd and September 25th. So contact Magical Travel today for more information and for the best availability at 866-207-8387, or visit them online at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote, and be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive a free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And of course, thanks to all of you, any of you who have contributed to the show, one-time donation, a recurring donation, or clicking through any of the links to various stores and whatnot over on the website. It all supports Inside the Magic, and I thank you for all of it. And now, let's get started with a trip around the world. Well, as I said at the top of the show there, got a lot of excitement to talk about. The biggest stories that happened over the last few days was out at Disneyland, the official debut of Mickey and the Magical Map, which took place in the Fantasyland Theater. It's a brand new stage show that I'll be talking much more about a little bit later in the show. Also out here in Orlando, there was the grand opening and debut of Antarctica, the new realm and new ride and restaurant and a whole area that's a part of SeaWorld Orlando. So again, going to be talking much more about that a little bit later. So before all of that, I'm going to go through the rest of the news that took place, which there was still some very big news that happened, including for the second time ever, just a couple of days ago, beginning at 6 a.m. on May 24th, was the beginning of the monstrous summer all-nighter, and it took place out here at Walt Disney World and out at Disneyland as well. It was at the Magic Kingdom here, as well as both Disneyland Park and Disney California Adventure out in California. As I said, it did start at 6 a.m., of course, East Coast time first, and then 3 hours later on the West Coast. And out here at Walt Disney World, everything kicked off very similarly to the One More Disney Day that happened last year, which was the first time that Disney did this sort of 24-hour simultaneous day at on both coasts. There was a welcome moment in front of the train station out here at the Magic Kingdom that included, the usual morning welcome to the Magic Kingdom, though a few hours earlier it was still dark out. But Mike and Sully joined in their Monsters University outfits. Of course, that is part of the promotion here. It is the Monstrous Summer for Walt Disney World and Disneyland, and that's in promotion for Monsters University coming out in just a couple of weeks. The day progressed from there. It wasn't horribly crowded at the beginning of the day. There were certainly a lot of people who came ready. There were special shirts available, and as those of you who are watching the video version of the show see me goofily wearing right now, the Mike Wazowski sunglasses or just glasses or whatever. They were giving some of those out as well to some of the attendees of that morning event, and I got a pair, and here they are, and Yeah, I think I'll take them off now. But anyway, my head's too big for those. My head is too big for just about everything. That aside, a lot of people were dressed up for the occasion at the Magic Kingdom, and it was nice to see a sunrise in the park. Not as glorious as the One More Disney Day happening last time, where it was a really foggy morning. If you remember the photos that I had put up last February, February 2012, when that took place, it was a really great morning. You couldn't even see Cinderella Castle at the end of the street. This time, that didn't really happen because, different time of year. It's May. It's not February. But regardless, it was nice to see the sunrise, and then I actually left at that point because I had much, much more to attend to that day and throughout the weekend, which I'll get to here in just a moment. But other things that took place at the Magic Kingdom, there was a pre-parade featuring Mike and Sully once again. Of course, in the late night hours, there was a big dance party in front of Cinderella Castle, just like last time for One More Disney Day. And then it all wrapped up with Mickey, Minnie, Chip and Dale in their pajamas waving goodbye to everybody. Very similar events took place out in California as well. Big crowds there. In fact, both coasts, big crowds this time. Back in February of last year when they did One More Disney Day, huge crowds at Disneyland, but Magic Kingdom, it was just average crowds here. Whereas this time, since it's over Memorial Day weekend, the crowds were absolutely huge. Big attendance for the event. So it seems to have been another successful happening for Disney, and this time they lumped it in to be part of Limited Time Magic. Now, this week, there's not really anything specific going on with Limited Time Magic. They did, during the All-Nighter, the Monsters Summer All-Nighter, they debuted at the Magic Kingdom out here, Celebrate the Magic, the Cinderella Castle projection show. The summer edition is now being performed with an extra little summer segment in there as part of the show every night. So that'll be going on for, of course, the duration of the summer, and they're calling that Limited Time Magic as well, though I guess technically it is, although they would have done it either way. But nothing else seems to be happening this week as everybody recovers from that 24-hour day in the park. Now, as I said, I had other things to do, and that was because this weekend, starting on Friday, was 2 simultaneous side-by-side conventions going on International Drive here in Orlando. Spooky Empire's Mayhem, which I go to every year, along with the Ultimate Horror Weekend in October. And in addition to that is also Halloween Extreme, a new convention that was going on for the very first time out here that was showing off a lot of great Halloween decorations, animatronics, that sort of thing, some great presentations as well. There's not enough time on this week's show to talk about all of that as well. There was definitely some great Disney connections and other theme park connections there. There was a presentation on Halloween Horror Nights, presentation on Hallowscream. I had a chance to interview Pat Carroll, the voice of Ursula, which is fantastic. So look for all of that in the coming weeks, probably on next week's show. In the meantime, definitely head over to our YouTube channel to see a video that is already making its way around the internet. I think it has something like 10,000 views already in just a day. It is Pat Carroll as Ursula reading the Haunted Mansion Ghost Host foyer bit. Of course, Paul Frees was famous as the Ghost Host, but this is Ursula reading it. It's fantastic. It's amazing. You have to go see that, and then much more from her, as well as the rest of Spooky Empire and Halloween Extreme coming up a little later. So, continuing with the Disney news out here at Walt Disney World, pass holders now can upgrade their paper annual pass tickets to the new RFID MyMagic Plus cards, not only at the Odyssey at Epcot, which you can't do anymore, that has ended, but now any guest relations or ticket sales location throughout Walt Disney World has the ability to make that upgrade for you, so no need to go to Epcot to make that happen. And also, just a few days ago, sales began on the newest Disney Vacation Club property, Grand Floridian. It is still under construction, of course, but for members of the DVC, you can now buy into that if you so choose, and public sales will begin on June 19th. Now, as I said, there was more very, very big news, even outside of Disney, and then I mentioned SeaWorld as well. Well, Universal, coming off of their big Harry Potter announcement a couple of weeks ago that I certainly talked about extensively, well, they had another big surprise this week. It was something that, if you've been to Universal recently, you probably knew that it was on the way. I think I may have even mentioned it here on the show a few weeks ago, but now it is official that, indeed, The Simpsons is getting a big expansion at Universal Studios Florida. Of course, there's already the Simpsons ride and the Quickie Mart store there, but now there's a major makeover and an expansion for that area surrounding the Simpsons ride. Universal released some great Simpsons-style concept art of the area, and just to go a little bit more in-depth into what that looks like, here, I'll turn down that music, and we'll go for something a little more Simpson-y here. So this Springfield area is going to include plenty of excitement. Next to the Simpsons ride is a new spinner ride themed to the Treehouse of Horrors character, Kang and Kodos, a twirl and hurl as they're calling it. There's going to be a Duff brewery where they're going to serve actual Duff beer for the first time ever anywhere. They're brewing it exclusively for Universal. In addition, there will be Cletus Chicken Shack will be there, of the yokel. Moe's Tavern's going to be there with, of course, I'm sure they'll have Duff beer there as well. Maybe a Flaming Moe, who knows. Krusty Burger will be part of it, where you can order a Krusty Burger and other unhealthy products there. A statue of Jebediah Springfield will be there on the Springfield street, along with other Simpsons decorations in that area. There will be a Lard Lad establishment where you can get those great Simpsons donuts that everybody knows. And, of course, the Androids Dungeon, the home of the comic book guy, will have a storefront there as well. And that really is just the beginning of all of that. It is very, very exciting what Universal is rolling out there. I think they continue to crank out great ideas like that. In addition to everything that I just mentioned, 2 new Simpsons characters will actually begin appearing in the park as well when all this debuts. Krusty the Clown and Sideshow Bob will be there. I'm really looking forward to meeting Sideshow Bob. Anytime there's a new villain in the park, I'm excited about it. And of course, Sideshow Bob was brilliant. Kelsey Grammer as the voice of Bob there. Always a wonderful character to see, and I can't wait to meet him in person. Also, part of the Springfield Street, which is not really visible in that concept art that they released, but apparently there's going to be the Frying Dutchman will be there, as well as Luigi's Pizza. So lots of food and beverages is really the focus of all of this. It is what they're calling Fast Food Boulevard. Pretty exciting stuff, and it's actually opening very soon. They didn't have a specific date, but it's this summer, within the next few months. They're well under construction already. Krusty Burger and Moe's and a few of the other locations are already shaping up. It's possible those will open before some of the other parts that are more on the lagoon side, but all this is not even taking place of really anything terribly important in the park. There was the restaurant that's been there for years and years and years to the right of the Simpsons ride, formerly Back to the Future. That restaurant is basically being consumed by all of this, and that's it. No attractions closing or anything, so pretty exciting stuff there. And there's other excitement also going on from Universal just this weekend. In fact, just yesterday, the 1-year anniversary of Transformers The Ride 3D grand opening at Universal Studios Hollywood in California. Of course, they're still working on it out here in Orlando. Should soft open any day now, possibly tomorrow, the next day, who knows. Hasn't happened yet, but it's been a year since it opened in California, and on that year anniversary, Universal's done it again. They've really taken character interaction to the next level. You can now, in Hollywood, and hopefully soon in Orlando as well, converse one-on-one, have full-on conversations with Optimus Prime and Megatron of the Transformers. This is not like the talking Transformers that you may have seen or heard from out here in Orlando that have been around, where it's kind of pre-recorded lines. No, this is completely interactive. I want to play just a little bit of what it sounds like with Megatron, followed by Optimus Prime meeting and greeting with guests out there.
Megatron, your rightful lord and leader now. Yes, I see you're carrying my meal for me. It keeps the meat tender. You look like a giant strawberry. Those bright colors make me think you are Autobots in disguise. You're lucky your parental units were here.
Okay, so that's a little bit of Megatron here. Let's switch to Optimus Prime.
I must warn all of you, if you find the Allspark and Megatron is in its possession, take it from him. I will put the cube in my chest, destroy my spark, and save this world. Now these are colors I can relate to. Both of you wear the color of the Autobot, and you make me very, very proud. This one is rather tiny, but I see your spark is strong. Greetings, younglings, be careful. Megatron is lurking near, and we don't want any problems.
Now, there you have it. Some interactive character meet and greets at Universal Hollywood. Again, hopefully coming out here to Orlando very soon. It's great. You can actually go to our YouTube channel and website to hear and see even more from Megatron and Optimus there. You know, they're commenting on clothing, making fun of guests, even saying names of guests. It's clear that it is absolutely live, not pre-recorded. Great voices there. Not, 100% accurate to Peter Cullen and Frank Welker, but still pretty cool, pretty close, and I'm excited to have a conversation with them at some point. Of course, it's been more than 3 years since Disney first tested Talking Mickey, the interactive Talking Mickey. That's a long time. It has yet to, Mickey's made a few appearances, having conversations over the years, here and there, occasional, very brief, but really has not rolled out in a full form yet. So Universal's, doing what they do and just bringing it in and taking them on and doing the best that they can to roll out these exciting new experiences. I can't wait for Transformers to open out here in Orlando. Well, while we're talking about California, we'll actually sort of deviate to New York here for a moment, where this week the world's largest Lego model was unveiled in Times Square. It was a Lego Star Wars X-Wing Starfighter, full-size X-Wing Starfighter made of millions and millions of Legos, and I bring it up here not only because that's really cool and because it's Star Wars, which is Disney now, but also because Legoland California is going to be getting this large model. It's apparently going to be arriving there June 13th. In the meantime, they have kind of a tiny version of it in their mini land of Times Square, but they will be getting the full one, sort of flying its way in by June 13th. So now here's some sort of vague news/rumor. There's a new trailer for Disney's Planes movie, which is not a Pixar movie, a Pixar-inspired movie, if you will, from the world of Cars. And in that trailer, you see Dusty, the main character, flying through a bunch of worldly locations around the world. And it was noted online, unofficially, this is just a rumor, that Soarin' over California is potentially going to be getting an update called Soarin' Over the World. Apparently it's at Shanghai Disneyland. It may be called Soarin' Over the Horizon, and could debut within the next few years, maybe by 2016, and you never know, maybe we'll see a Planes tie-in there. Again, just rumor, who knows, just speculation at this point, but a Soarin' update would certainly be long overdue at this point. Speaking of Shanghai Disneyland, though, an image was released just this weekend showing the construction progress of Shanghai Disneyland. It's kind of amusing to put the artwork of their castle side by side with the progress of the construction, which only quite recently began, really. It doesn't look like a whole lot. The construction's kind of just a big concrete block at this point, but it's going. Shanghai Disney is being built. It's, under construction, and apparently it's going to be opening by the end of 2015, so it's not that far off, as you might think. From Adventures by Disney, it was announced this week that coming in 2014 will be, actually, I think it started already, travel to Austria, Germany, and the Czech Republic are new destinations for Adventures by Disney. In Prague, you'll be able to create your own marionettes and take walking tours. In Germany, you can make pretzels, which sounds delicious. Also, take a tour of Hellbrunn Castle in Salzburg, and enjoy a private dinner at the Emperor's Pavilion in the Vienna Zoo, and learn the waltz from experts. So if you want to do some worldly travel, Adventures by Disney may be the way to go. Even more big news this week. If you haven't already decided that you want to go to the D23 Expo this year in August in Anaheim, in California, this will probably put you over the edge. It was announced this week that two of Disney's most celebrated songwriters and composers will have a performance there. That's right, Richard Sherman and Alan Menken will perform together in a performance called the Disney Songbook. It's going to take place only once on Saturday, August 10th, right in the middle of the D23 Expo. It'll be a first-come, first-served basis included with the price of the ticket to the Expo. 4,000 people will be able to see this in the D23 Expo Arena. An additional 2,000 seats will be available in an overflow theater, but you won't see that. I mean, you'll see it live, but you'll see it on a screen. It'll be simulcast. So only 4,000 people will be able to see it live and in person. I have a feeling people are going to line up well in advance to see this. I certainly will. I can't miss this. Of course, I've seen Richard Sherman perform before. He was at Destination D Walt Disney World. I did not see Alan Menken perform when he did at Destination D 75 Years of Disney Animated Features, when that was at Disneyland. We talked to Jeremiah Dawes, and he was there, and he saw that, and it was amazing. And Richard Sherman was actually in the audience for that performance. So the two of these amazing talents to be performing together at the D23 Expo is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I could sit here and rattle off all the credits for these two, but really just look at anything Disney for the last several decades, and one of these two, if not both of them, have had a hand in it somewhere as far as the songwriting goes, and I can't wait to see that. In the world of television now, Disney and Lucasfilm announced this week that there will be a follow-up to the recently canceled series The Clone Wars, with a new television series called Star Wars Rebels. It's going to be an all-new animated series beginning in fall of 2014, starting with a one-hour special on Disney Channel, and then turning into a series on Disney XD. The Clone Wars, Dave Filoni, very popular guy, is going to be attached to this, along with several other talented people, though no casting has been announced just yet. The new series is going to be set between Episode 3 and Episode 4, so a little bit further down the timeline. It's going to feature the Empire hunting down the last of the Jedi Knights as a fledgling rebellion against the Empire is taking shape. So a very exciting time in the world of Star Wars. I never really watched the Clone Wars, but I may have to pick up on this series when it starts next year. Now here's some Blu-ray news. Of course, we've talked about the Muppets movie, the recent one that was in theaters with Jason Segel, Amy Adams, etc. We've talked about the upcoming Muppets sequel. It's going to be starring Ricky Gervais. Well, now jump way back to the original movie called The Muppet Movie. That one is coming to Blu-ray for the first time. It's going to be available August 13th of this year. It'll have some new bonus features, including Disney Intermission and some other never-before-seen bonus content that Disney has not quite revealed just yet. And in the world of movies, screenwriter and producer Damon Lindelof has divulged a little bit more details about that mysterious Tomorrowland project that he's working on. It's the upcoming movie that will be directed by Brad Bird, starring George Clooney. Apparently, even though it's called Tomorrowland and it has a lot of ties to the world of Disney, you're not actually going to see Disneyland in the film. So that little detail has been revealed. And final bit of news this week before we get into the big stories is just a quick little look from one of my favorite products, this pop vinyl line from a company called Funko. These little sort of stylized versions of characters from all over. The latest line of those is coming out for Disney. A whole bunch of them coming out June 27th. Some of my favorites that are coming out are little vinyl figures of Jafar, one of the Rocketeer, which I definitely have to get, one of Merida, which, given the recent controversy, I think this one will sort of calm that down a little bit. There's no makeup, there's no fancy dress. She just looks like a cute version of Merida from the film Brave, and many more. So definitely keep an eye out for the Funko pop vinyl Disney figures coming next month. And that'll do it for news from around the world this week. Here's a tip that comes in from Mike, who writes, on my most recent trip to the Disneyland Resort, I had a great lunch at the Cove Bar in Paradise Pier at Disney California Adventure. I noticed that guests could just walk up to the bar and order beer and wine to go, and I asked our waiter about it, and he said, yes, only beer and wine can be ordered to go. So if anyone doesn't like what the beer truck serves on the Pacific Wharf, or the limited options at Flo's V8 Cafe or Taste Pilot's Grill, go over to the Cove Bar, and you can grab a Blue Moon or any of your favorite beer and wine in a plastic to-go cup, and I noticed they have the widest range of beer on tap and wine in the entire park. Although I know a lot of guests won't care for alcohol on a Disney trip, I thought it was a good thing to know while you're in the park. I also recommend coming to the Cove Bar as the cocktails and appetizers are great with an amazing view of Paradise Pier. Mike, I have never been to the Cove Bar, but I've heard a lot of people really raving about it for the reasons that you have just said. I will have to check it out on a future trip. Everybody else, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. And I do have plenty of excitement to get to here in just a moment. But before we get to all of that, I want to mention Capturing Magic, the iPhone apps that are the ultimate tool for documenting and recording the magic of your Disney vacation, whether you're at Disneyland or Walt Disney World. Capturing Magic offers a helpful list of photo opportunities and memories to capture before, during, and after your trip. It is the perfect way to ensure that you don't miss a magical moment. While you're in the parks, the app is going to remind you of the desired photo opportunities on your list that you've already set up when you're near those locations. And then when you take your picture, you just mark on what camera you took it with and who's in it. And later you can organize everything very easily. You can even email yourself a list of all the details. So search the iTunes App Store for the Capturing Magic iPhone apps that are available now. And now I want to talk about Mickey and the Magical Map, the new stage show that has recently debuted just this weekend, the last few days at the Fantasyland Theater in Disneyland. Of course, I was out here in Orlando for a lot of craziness that's been going on over the last few days, so I couldn't go out to Disneyland for this opening. This is the first time in several years I haven't gone out for a big opening, big summer event, but instead I sent Jeremiah and Josh Dawes there to cover it for us. Certainly didn't want to miss the opportunity to bring you all the great excitement from that. It debuted just a few days ago with a recently appointed or added or whatever Disneyland president Michael Koglaser, who moved from out here from Animal Kingdom out there to become Disneyland president when George Kalogridis came out here. Anyway, he was there. The show was only announced 5 months ago, so pretty quick turnaround time from announcement to actually showing up. The Fantasyland Theater itself has been upgraded. A lot of construction went on in there. Really looks great. And from what again, I haven't been there myself, but I'm sort of relaying the message from Jeremiah and Josh here, who did have a chance to see the full show. You can, by the way, go over to our YouTube channel or on InsideTheMagic.net to watch the whole show if you're not going to be able to get there in person. Or as I've seen many people on Twitter say already, that after they watched the video, they are dying to go to Disneyland to see it in person. And that's what I think Disney really appreciates. When you go watch these videos online, you don't just go, yeah, that was all right, and you don't care. You get excited. And you should, because this show seems like it's really good. It's got Disney classic songs that are kind of remixed and mashed up, if you will. Of course, the real star of this show, in addition to the characters and the dancers, the performers, is this impressively interactive video screen set piece that is behind all of the performers. This is the magical map of the title. Mickey, in Sorcerer's Apprentice attire, is throughout the show, and he's got a paintbrush, kind of epic Mickey style, and really transports the audience through the use of this magical map to the worlds of a variety of classic Disney hits, of course with the assistance of Sorcerer Yen Sid as well. You get transported to the Jungle Book, as well as the world of the Disney princesses, featuring Flynn Rider and Rapunzel and Mulan and Pocahontas. There's a bit of a Little Mermaid sequence. There's Lilo and Stitch sequence. There's also The Princess and the Frog, and a new song called Journey of the Imagination. All kind of ties it together. This magical map screen that's in the background is really sort of the heart of the whole thing. It's certainly a nice piece of technology. It's got multiple levels where the performers can stand and dance around. There's interactivity to it. There's nearly 1 million pixels on the thing, with more than 35,000 square inches of LED screen surface. Pretty impressive there. And, of course, it's between the musical numbers that Yen Sid pops out, and Mickey and the big wizard on the screen have their interaction. And for Disney princess fans, I think really the sort of the most magical moment of the whole thing is, as I said, there are several princesses as part of the show, but not only are they each singing, but they're actually singing together in this kind of mashup medley of princess songs that I think is really nice. And so I'm not going to share the entire show here on this show because you can already go to our YouTube channel to check that out, but I did at least want to include some of the entertainment here. So now let's hop on over to the Fantasyland Theater for a clip, really a whole song, the Princess Medley from Mickey and the Magical Map.
What I love most about rivers is you can't step in the same river twice. The water
Hopefully you enjoyed that performance of the Princess Medley from Mickey and the Magical Map. Again, you can head to our YouTube channel and website to view the whole show. But now to learn a little bit more about the creation of this new show for Disneyland, along with sort of the challenges that Disney faced while putting it all together, and the inspiration behind it. I mentioned Epic Mickey a little while ago, and you'll hear more about that. Jeremiah talked to Disneyland's Director of Entertainment, Doug McIntyre, right there in the Fantasyland Theater on debut night, and here's what he had to say.
I'm here at Fantasyland Theater in Disneyland Park with Doug McIntyre, talking about Mickey and the Magical Map. Hi, Doug.
Hi.
Thanks for talking with me.
It's great to be here with you.
So tell me about the Mickey and the Magical Map and how it sort of builds on the history of what has gone on here at Fantasyland Theater.
Yeah, what a challenge, I think, to set out about 2 years ago, you know, start to think about putting a live show back in the Fantasyland Theater. It'd been about 6 years, I think, since we've had a live theatrical production here since Snow White. I think maybe if you remember the last show that was in this theater. So two things happened. One is we knew we wanted to fix some things about the theater. It used to be Videopolis, this old sort of dance club, and it had kind of had lots of different shows, but it was really sort of based on that old facility. So we've revamped the facility, improved the sight lines of the guests, kind of re-sloped the entire house, changed the height of the stage, done a lot of things to really make it a better theatrical experience. And then we wanted to obviously create a new show to put in here, and it's Disneyland, it's Fantasyland, it's got to be great, it's got to be classic. But we also knew we wanted to create something that had a contemporary feel to it, even with the classic stories and the classic music that we might want to use, but we knew we wanted it to be fresh and new and exciting, and maybe even use some technology in ways that we haven't in shows here before. So Mickey and the Magical Map, I think, has all of that.
Great, great. Well, so a lot of our viewers are wondering, was this inspired at all by Epic Mickey?
Yeah.
Because it has a lot of the similar, you know, paintbrushes.
You picked up on it. You know, I think it was. We talked about, obviously one of the lead characters, you know, your fans will find out when they see the show, is Yensid. And we actually collaborated with the Epic Mickey team with the Yensid that we're using in the show. And so there's a little connectivity there, definitely, creatively, yeah.
All right, and so did that inspire the decision to go 3D instead of 2D with Yensid? Or was that just, you know, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, we just were able to connect with them and look at the work they had done and sort of use that as a starting point for what we did in the show. So it helped us move along in that development process quite a bit because they had a start on that character already. So it was a big help.
Now, was there ever any temptation to put Oswald in the show?
No, you know, that's funny. It's kind of become a joke, and we joke about other shows we're working on and where Oswald would fit in, but no, Oswald wasn't ever considered for this show. You know, it really, we wanted to stay pure. One of the most important creative goals that I think we had for the show is that we wanted to create a story for Mickey to play a part. We wanted Mickey as a character. We wanted Mickey as the rascally little mischievous guy that he's supposed to be, and not sort of, you know, just the corporate Disney icon that sometimes he ends up being. And that was probably goal number one with the show, was to create a story for Mickey. And I think, you know, as you saw tonight, we did that. And he gets into a little trouble, and he learns some things, and he discovers some things, and he really does have a journey in this experience. So we're proud of that.
Now tell me about the princesses singing together. Now, how has that ever been done before? Is this the first time?
No, I think there have been other shows where we've had princess medleys done. In other shows where there's been medleys with princesses in it. You know, we wanted to be very careful about that. But we just thought there was this magical opportunity with the three pieces of music we use. Of course, you know, there's Mulan and Pocahontas and Rapunzel with See the Light, and it all kind of comes together at the end with See the Light. So we were careful to keep the princesses sort of in their own world. You notice they never sort of, you know, really come together because we're not blending those stories per se. But we wanted to really feature those three pieces of music and then finish with I Can See the Light, which is probably, if not one of the most beautiful Disney songs ever written, I think, from Rapunzel. So we wanted to really feature that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
There are certainly many exciting and unique features to Mickey and the Magical Map, from the performance of the Jungle Book song featuring King Louie, who is moving his mouth and blinking along, to the high energy performance. There are actually more than 50 dancers and singers throughout the show that has now made its debut at Disneyland, so you can definitely go check it out soon. It's scheduled to run 5 times per day, 7 days a week throughout the summer. and then when it comes to be the fall, the schedule will adjust from there. Disney does say that this show, Mickey and the Magical Map, is going to be performed for a very long time at Disneyland because with sort of the interactive screen being the set piece and sort of, you've got a musical number here, you got a musical number there, they plan on updating it in the future. So you might not always see King Louie in the Jungle Book, or you might not always see Tiana and the Princess and the Frog, or Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride and Lilo and Stitch. You might get one of those swapped out for a different song and musical number in the future. Different depending on the season, depending on the year, who knows. So that's pretty exciting that there's a show that they can kind of continually update, much like they've done with World of Color over the years. But this is obviously a completely different thing, a big musical stage show. Now, adding to this, I've added sort of my thoughts that aren't really my thoughts. They've come from Jeremiah and Josh Dawes, rather, and I want to share some thoughts from some Inside the Magic listeners as well who had a chance to see the show. Catherine wrote in and said, I got to take my kids to see Mickey and the Magical Map and wanted to give you a quick opinion. While I did absolutely love the show, I have two problems with it. Number one, Fantasy Fair Theater still has the same visibility problem that it always had. The theater isn't built on a big incline, so if you're short or a child, then you won't be able to see much. I really wish they had addressed this in the refurbishment because my kids missed most of the show since we sat at the center. The other problem is that when I tried giving them a better view from the side, the effects of that slanted screen just look off. There's really a limited amount of good seats for such a large theater. And then number two, not enough characters. I got so excited to hear the Lilo and Stitch song, but disappointed that Lilo or Stitch weren't actually in the show. They did an amazing job with King Louie's mechanical mouth, so my guess is that they're trying to rid the show of any faces that don't move. But still, it just felt like if you're going to do a song from a movie, then the characters should appear on the stage. By the way, it was also disappointing that Ariel wasn't there for the Little Mermaid number. Anyway, I did love the show, and we'll go back many more times, but I also do understand why some wouldn't like it. If you're going to go, make sure you get good seats, because so far we've had bad luck with seating. Catherine, good tips there. Good sort of alternate perspective on everything. Of course, when we go to these press events, and of course this time it was Jeremiah and Josh there, we usually get pretty optimal spots because, we're behind cameras. They want to give us the opportunity to shoot from the best angles, and so we're kind of treated, if you will, to seeing the best possible way of seeing a show. Often on a riser, or at least somewhat in the center and, over the heads of everybody. So I can definitely see your point. If you're stuck behind somebody who's really tall and the seats aren't in that theater aren't, stadium seating style, could be a little bit difficult to see what is, or a lot difficult to see what is going on. So maybe they'll have another refurbishment of the theater in the future, but I haven't heard any plans, unfortunately. So wrapping this up now, just one more note about Mickey and the Magical Map. If you want to go backstage and see what goes on behind the scenes, I've also posted an article a little bit earlier this week along with some video showing the costuming and the recording of the music for this show. So definitely head on over to Inside the Magic to check all of that out. And of course, you can go over to Disneyland to see the show in person. So that'll do it for Mickey and the Magical Map. And now, before we move on to SeaWorld's Antarctica, I do want to mention that this episode of Inside the Magic is being sponsored also by TouringPlans.com. If you want to save time by avoiding crowds and long lines on your Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or Universal Orlando vacation, TouringPlans.com is the solution for you. TouringPlans.com has everything you need to plan your trip, including a crowd calendar for planning the best days to visit, and everything that you would need to save time on a vacation. A mobile wait time app, personalized computer optimized touring plans, and you can check it out at touringplans.com today. That's TOURINGPLANS.com, and use discount code ITM to save 20% and start planning your stress-free vacation today. So now I want to shift gears away from Disney and talk about a pretty exciting opening that took place out here in Orlando, more specifically SeaWorld Orlando, where SeaWorld is welcoming everybody to the bottom of the world, as they like to put it, for their new realm, Antarctica, Empire of the Penguin. This has been hyped for a very long time now. It was announced a year and a half ago, roughly, and they've been talking a lot about this whole new area, a new land for SeaWorld, if you will. Of course, that's sort of the big in thing for theme parks lately, is having a new land. It's, Cars Land in California, Harry Potter, the Wizarding World at Universal, New Fantasyland, etc. So this is, it seems like it would have been SeaWorld's answer to that with Antarctica. It's located near the back of the park, really towers over the surrounding area with big icy peaks and rock work, very impressive, towering over 50 feet tall. And rather than me kind of going through and describing the whole area for you here to begin with, I've had a chance to spend a number of hours there over the last few days, both day and night time. Really, I did enjoy a lot of it and not so much other parts of it. But before we get to all of that, I want to sort of take you there on, the grand opening press event to talk to a few of the creators of it. SeaWorld's creative director, Brian Morrow, director of Ride and Maintenance, Mike Denninger, and animal trainer Corey Oxman. These aren't just straight interviews. This is kind of a video that I put together, sort of giving an overview, a summary of what Antarctica Empire of the Penguin is all about at SeaWorld Orlando.
Antarctica, SeaWorld's Antarctica Empire of the Penguin, which ultimately and quite simply is the chance for our guests to take a journey to the bottom of our planet, to the South Pole. The continent of Antarctica is the driest, windiest, most unpredictable continent on the planet, and there live some amazing animals. And journeying to SeaWorld's Antarctica, our guests will have a chance to experience a family ride adventure like none other. They'll be able to walk into the world of the penguins, and they'll also have a chance to dine amongst the science of Antarctica, and then also shop for some unique, intelligent souvenir items that can actually help penguins and Antarctica in the wild. Puck in the attraction. We're there when he's born in extreme circumstances of a blizzard, and then we have to take shelter from that blizzard. So we follow Puck and his family to take shelter.
So when you walk through, you get to meet Puck and the penguin family, and you get to know the story a little more. And as you proceed through that space, we are also taking the temperature down slightly in the very beginning when you're walking through. We're also bringing the humidity down significantly to dry you out, and we're also blowing a lot of air for a wind effect, but at the same time it's giving us some convection, and we're drying your clothing and the body off. So we gradually transition you as a guest to this sub-freezing environment.
And as we do, we then reunite with Puck, and he's a little older, and we follow Puck's life, and eventually we board into Empire of the Penguin.
This is an unbelievable ride system. I mean, I still sit here and I watch these vehicles move through the space, especially when we have multiple vehicles moving in the same space. You've got paths that are crisscrossing. There's a lot going on in the overall ride system. This is truly unique. This is one of a kind in terms of what we have here in this overall ride package.
And we follow Puck through Antarctica, and we see it through his eyes. And it's not how you and me see Antarctica, it's how Puck sees Antarctica, and it's wonderful, it's colorful, and it's imaginative, and this is really Puck's world. And we play in that world.
There is no track bolted to that ground, and there is nothing keeping us from going any direction we want to go in that space. Right. So it's it's almost endless. You can do anything you want. So you have to create this dance, this choreography of these vehicles moving around in relation to each other, and it's kind of symbolic of the interactions you have with each other as going through on this epic journey. It's just like the penguins and the colony and joining the colony, and how the penguins stay together, and together they are better than separate.
But then it's time to, Puck gets a little older, he's got to grow up, and he's got to make that trek to the edge of the ice to go hunt for the first time. Penguins get their food from the ocean. In fact, they spend most of their time in the ocean swimming and hunting for food. But Puck, we're there for the first time that he dives in that water for the very first time. But that's where danger lurks, because the predators for penguins primarily live in the water. And there's some leopard seals underwater in Antarctica that are very interested in penguins for food, which also they're very interested in us as penguins for food. And Puck saves the day, of course, and he saves the day and reunites us with the penguin colony and the real penguins of SeaWorld's Antarctica, where the guests simply, door opens of their vehicle and they simply take one step off and they're inside the penguin habitat.
Colony of penguins. We have approximately 250 birds that comprise this colony. There's 4 species, and guests are getting up close encounters with these penguins and really feeling the chill of Antarctica. Our habitat is 30 degrees, and the guests are immersed into this 30-degree chill. And the water is 45 degrees, and if you're close enough, sometimes you'll get splashed by the penguins zipping around and porpoising out of the water, and they're splashing us. And so it really grabs all your senses. You can hear the penguins vocalizing to each other. You can see them right up close, and it's really like what life is like in Antarctica.
Expedition Cafe is a new culinary concept for SeaWorld Parks Entertainment, where we're really taking the idea that we'll let our guests go in there, pick whatever food you want. We took the lines out. That's lines and all that stuff is hideous. So go get all the food you want, and on the way out, pay us, is how that works. So we're trusting our guests a little bit, and inside are food from 3 of the founding countries that helped save Antarctica and signed the treaty in 1959 that actually protects Antarctica. Because most guests don't know, we're all Antarcticans. If we're a member of the 50 countries that are currently part of the treaty that protects Antarctica, that makes you an Antarctican. And that's why I wear this name tag. It says Antarctica and also says Tennessee, but I'm a Tennessean Antarctican because we're all Antarcticans if you're from those countries, and that's why we should care to help protect them.
So now you get an idea of what is there at SeaWorld as part of Antarctica, this new realm. It is to walk around the area is really, I think, the most impressive part of the whole thing. You heard about what's specifically in there. Of course, there's a ride, there's a restaurant, there's a store, there's some great drinks to enjoy there as well. There are 2 ways to get into Antarctica, and when you walk up to it, it's just a white and blue expanse where you see, just it looks like a glacier is melting around you, and you're walking through, an area that is straight out of the South Pole. The north side entrance is a bit more impressive, as Brian told me. It's kind of the theme park geeks entrance to the area. It's the one that you want to walk through with this big icy archway over the top, kind of reminiscent to that other entrance to Cars Land in California with the archway, where it kind of gives you that grand reveal as you're walking in. You walk past the Antarctica sign, and you get in there, and it is definitely an impressive thing to see as you're walking through. Of course, everything SeaWorld does, a lot of tie-ins to environment and nature, and they try to teach you about that as you go through. But Antarctica is definitely not overly preachy like some of their attractions. It's really more about sort of just being there, getting the feeling that you're no longer in tropical Central Florida, but rather in this nice, icy environment. It's got great music, which you're hearing in the background now. I kind of recorded it live while I was sitting there for a while. Great orchestral score that's accompanied by sort of the whooshing sounds of wind occasionally. Whenever that happens, even if it's not actually cold out, it kind of gives you a little bit of a chill because you're seeing all this fake ice around you. It looks real, and it has this great feeling to it. Now, of course, what everybody wants to know about is Empire of the Penguin, the ride that we've been talking about for so long, since SeaWorld announced it so long ago. This trackless ride, Orlando's first entry into sort of the world of trackless vehicles. A lot of hype for this ride. Too much, probably. Starting from the beginning, you walk through sort of another icy archway, enter into the first room that gives you a pre-show across multiple video screens that kind of take you into almost a window into Antarctica. You learn the story of Puck, this little penguin character that they've invented for the attraction in the realm, and his family, that there's a snowstorm coming in. He's just hatched, and he's being launched into this tumultuous world of Antarctica, trying to fend for himself and really survive everything that is dangerous out there. And in doing so, as you move on to a second pre-show, after you pass through this really colorful, wonderful queue with lots of sort of icy-ness, but with lots of shades of green and purple and everything, you move on to a second pre-show. And at that point, it's explained to you as you meet Puck that he has developed the ability to sort of see Antarctica through his own special way, and things turn from just shades of blue and white into multiple colors. And he's inviting you essentially to follow him on his journey into Antarctica to sort of see that world through his eyes. And you really got to pay attention to that. You really, really have to pay attention to that, because that's the only way that the ride itself is going to make any sense. If you don't pay attention to the pre-show, you don't get that notion. Well, you walk through the next room, and you step into the ride vehicle, which is this great trackless vehicle that we've talked about in the past, developed for SeaWorld. It's a circular vehicle with 8 seats on it in 2 rows, has the ability to do motion-based sort of simulator movements, very robust system, has so much potential, it seems like. So you step into this first room, and you're there, and there's all these sort of almost giant water droplets coming down from the sky, or from the ceiling. And you see the other vehicles roaming around there freely. There's no track. Very impressive to see them all sort of doing a dance around each other. And it's very colorful in there. And you're thinking, how is this Antarctica? And then you have to remember, you're seeing it like, according to SeaWorld at least, how Puck, this character, is seeing it. And as you move on from there, things get a little crazy. You move on to the first room, and this is getting a little spoilery there. If you don't want to know what happens in this very short ride, move ahead for a couple of minutes here in the podcast, but I promise there's honestly not that much to spoil. You move on to the next room, and you see more color. You see almost sort of a frozen waterfall that's all these colors, greens and oranges and reds and purples and every color in between. And you spin around in that room for a while. You kind of dance around other vehicles. There's 2 versions of the ride. There's the wild version and the mild version. If you opt for the wild version, you do spinning, you bump around, you waddle back and forth like a penguin, and your vehicle does all kinds of motions. If you do the mild, you simply slide along the ground. You don't get any of those motions or anything like that. There's really not that much of a difference between them, and the wild is not that wild. So you're moving around there, that first large room with all these colors, sort of abstract representation of Antarctica. Then you move into a second room where you're waddling along next to a screen of CG animated Antarctica with CG animated penguins making their way across. And this is sort of the transition between Puck's view of Antarctica and the real Antarctica as he approaches his first time jumping into the water. And I know I'm reiterating some of the stuff that Brian Morrow just told you a little bit ago. This is kind of my perception of it. And then finally you move into the last room, essentially, of the ride. I guess it's the second to last. And there's another big screen. So the ride is essentially 1 room of a bunch of colors and then 2 rooms of some screens. And not a whole lot else. On this last one, you essentially stop alongside some other vehicles, and you go through what is basically a motion simulator attraction. You are under the water with Puck, you're bouncing around, moving in time with how he's swimming around, you get attacked by stuff, he saves the day, and that goes on for, I don't know, a minute or so, and then you turn around, and there's a big reveal that all of a sudden you are at the penguin habitat, and you see the real penguins in front of you, which is supposed to be the big sort of aha, wow, cool moment of the whole thing. And all of that takes place in about 3 minutes or so. I think the amount of time it just took me to describe it was probably longer than the actual attraction itself. It's an interesting ride. Expectations, I think, were much too high after a year and a half of build-up. All this, the technology for the trackless system, wonderful. I would love to see it applied in a different, bigger venue. It seems like SeaWorld may have been limited in the amount of space they could work with these vehicles, and they need a lot of space to be able to go dancing around each other. These things are, I don't know, 10 feet in diameter, maybe not quite that big, maybe 8 feet in diameter, and it's you know, if you put a bunch of those next to each other, it takes up a lot of space, and as they're moving around and circling around each other, eats up a lot of space, and so I guess they just didn't have enough room to put more in there. I don't know. It's definitely an underused technology. Brian told me that the ride's length can actually vary by about 30 seconds depending on which path you take. There are randomized paths that you go through. You never sort of go through the same path the same way depending on where you load and which vehicle you're in, and if you're doing wild or mild, and how it ends up. You'll see scenes from different angles and spin at different times, etc. So it is very different every time you ride it, but you still see essentially the same visuals. There aren't a variety of all of that. And I rode it 3 times, and only on the 3rd time that I have the best sort of opportunity to really experience the ride in its fullest featured way, I guess you could say, where I was the first vehicle to enter that penguin scene at the end, where you get that aha sort of wow moment of seeing the habitat with the live penguins, as opposed to if you're like the 3rd vehicle to enter there, which everybody sort of pulls up one after another, and then you go off side by side. Then it's almost like a spoiler at that point. You've already seen it, and yeah. But what's great is right after you get off, you walk straight into the penguin habitat, which is the new penguin habitat that SeaWorld has constructed for Antarctica. Is really impressive. You get up close, much closer to the penguins than ever before. You certainly smell them on the ride. As soon as you turn into the penguin habitat, you're like, whoa, that's a fishy smell. But it's also very, very cold. As you're walking through, you're getting, as you heard earlier, you're getting acclimated to the temperatures, and it goes down and down and down, and it is cold in there. It is literally 30 degrees, and I was shivering as I was doing an interview in there, but it felt good because it was really hot outside as well. So, you know, that's sort of the process of going through there. Again, the penguin habitat, you can see it underwater. You can see the penguins darting around, swimming. There's nearly 250 penguins in there. It's an impressive sight. It's definitely an area you'd want to spend a lot of time in if it wasn't 30 degrees. I mean, if you can handle the cold, it's an enjoyable place to be. Of course, you actually have to go through the line and go through that acclimation process, dropping the temperature and the humidity little by little in order to really be able to see the penguins. You can't just enter in anywhere else. And right now, since grand opening day, the lines have been hours and hours long for this very brief ride. The loading process on this ride has been really, really slow as the park kind of figures out what to do with it, because there was no soft opening for this ride, which is very unusual. So it's I don't know. I think things will improve over time. The Empire of the Penguin ride, can't say it's my favorite new thing in Orlando right now. If you want to watch a video of the whole thing, walking through the queue, the pre-shows, the ride itself, all of that, our website, YouTube channel, of course, where you can see all of that. But that is not it by any means for Antarctica. It is much more than just that ride. In fact, everything else in Antarctica I actually like better than the ride itself. There's an Expedition Cafe, which has a great exterior theme. It looks like sort of this build-out of a base on Antarctica. You enter inside, and the way that they've done the food in here is wonderful. There's American, Asian, and Italian cuisines, which seems odd. Why would those be in Antarctica? Well, it's because those are the signatories of the Antarctic Treaty. Countries involved in protecting Antarctica, basically, and the food is actually pretty good. It's not like amazing quality dinner food or anything, but for lunch, it's a good meal. I had a full plate of Asian food, some rice, some saucy chicken, and it was definitely all enjoyable. I liked the flavors. It wasn't bad by any means at all. And then also there's plenty of seating available with some nice themes. There's an indoor seating area that's themed, again, sort of an Antarctic base for researchers and explorers to be there. And sitting in there, it really does feel like you're not in Central Florida necessarily. You're out in the middle of a base somewhere in the Antarctic, which is pretty neat. And then if you want an extra special drink experience outside of all of that is South Pole Beverages, which has side-by-side Coke Freestyle machines, which if you've ever seen one of those, it's got like over 100 flavors of Coca-Cola beverages. And SeaWorld has introduced this Cup that Cares that we talked about last week as well that interacts with that. But I had a chance to try out their new flavor, the South Pole Chill, which is a soda. Comes out looking like Sprite. It's a clear soda. Doesn't taste anything like Sprite, though. It's actually very good. I had 2 of them, in fact, on opening day, and then I went back last night and I had another one. Really enjoyable. It's kind of like a cream soda, but with more of a stronger, sweeter vanilla flavor. Really, really good soda. I would gladly drink that every time I go to SeaWorld. So that's there. And then there's also a store called Glacial Collections, which on the outside blends in with the sort of the glaciers, of course, of Antarctica. On the inside, it just kind of looks like your average SeaWorld store. Lots of penguin stuff, of course. It is Empire of the Penguins, after all. Now, the grand opening of this took place Friday morning. There performing was country singer and American Idol contestant, or former American Idol contestant, Lauren Elena. She sings the theme song for Antarctica, which you hear in the attraction. And on opening day, the lines were very, very long. 5 to 6 hour lines from what I heard. When I was there, I only saw it get up to 3. But yeah, 4 to 5, 6 hours, that's a very long time to wait for a 3-minute ride. Very long time to wait for anything, really. But I also had a chance to, last night, go back and explore Antarctica after dark. Absolutely the most impressive part of the experience of going to Antarctica is seeing it after dark. Unfortunately, SeaWorld doesn't stay open that late right now. In fact, tonight was the last night that they're going to be open after dark for quite a while, for like a month. But then once the summer hits, they'll be open till 10 and 11, starting, I think, June 22nd. And you'll be able to see what the area looks like when glowing. It's great. The ice has sort of an internal glow to it. Great whites and blue colors. Lots of lights everywhere. It just looks fantastic. I literally spent 2 hours doing nothing but taking pictures and video of that area because I enjoyed it so much. So head over to InsideTheMagic.net. You can see sort of a nighttime tour as well as a daytime tour of all of it. So Antarctica, there it is. It's not New Fantasyland, it's not Cars Land, it's certainly not the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, but it is a great addition to SeaWorld. Definitely one of the best areas, best themed areas of SeaWorld. The ride is not anything worth waiting hours and hours for. Eventually, I imagine that time is going to drop down, and if it's 15, 20 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes, I would recommend seeing it just to get the whole experience, and certainly go see the penguins. That's really the reward at the end. That's Antarctica in a nutshell. Antarctica Empire of the Penguin at SeaWorld Orlando. And now I have a preview of something coming up next week at Walt Disney World to share. Just another brief interview. Next weekend, starting June 1st, from what I understand, the new Wilderness Explorers experience will be debuting at Disney's Animal Kingdom, inspired by Disney Pixar's film Up. It's going to basically be an opportunity to go around the Animal Kingdom theme park and obtain more than 30 badges as you sort of do a variety of tasks throughout the parks. Discovery Island, Asia, Dinoland, USA, Africa, and Rafiki's Planet Watch. For those of you watching the video, you can kind of see a map of all the badges and where they'll be located. You'll find cast members that are dressed up for the occasion, all in the Wilderness Explorers gear. And when you get there, you will take part in some sort of experience. And to explain that a little bit more, I had a chance recently to talk to Imagineer and the Experience's field art director, Alex Wright, to really explain what this Wilderness Explorers experience for Disney's Animal Kingdom is going to be all about.
Wilderness Explorers is a self-guided, interactive tour of Animal Kingdom that allows kids and their families to dig deeper into the park storylines revolving around the animal exhibits that we have to offer, the conservation messages behind it, and even some cultural aspects of what you learn when you travel the world to see these places. As the kids check in at our headquarters station, they're given a guidebook, a Wilderness Explorers guidebook, that they use to find their way through all of the badge locations. We have more than 30, so it can be all done in a day, or you can bring the book back and do it over multiple visits. And as they complete each station, whether it's just transcribing something into the book that they find in the park, or engaging with one of our troop leaders at one of the former Kids Discovery Clubs that are kind of being transitioned into being part of this, they will earn a badge, eventually kind of upping their status as Wilderness Explorers and achieving rank. And so that's it's really sort of a reward for paying attention to the park and maybe seeing it in a way that you haven't in the past. The Wilderness Explorers group that Russell was a part of, in our conceit, Wilderness Explorers is an international organization, so they can be in all of these places, and they are. So when you go to Africa, Asia, Dinoland, wherever you may be in the park, and really that was one of my tasks as art director on this, was to make sure that the things that you encounter look as though they belong in these areas. We don't want this to in any way override our existing park storyline, so when you do something that takes place throughout the entirety of the park, it really needs to feel organic to each of those places, and so that's what we've done. So you actually have to pay attention to spot the little Wilderness Explorers ID that'll clue you in as to what each of the locations is. As we say with a lot of these things, it's for kids of all ages.
Right.
And so we targeted this at, we would say, an age range of 7 to 10, but we think there will be interest on both sides of that. And so it really is for anybody who's interested in learning more about the things that we have on display in the park.
Thanks very much, of course, to Imagineer Alex Wright for talking to me about the Wilderness Explorers experience. Again, it's debuting in about a week or so away, and it's not a character experience. You might be thinking of the Wilderness Explorers Redwood Creek Trail thing over at Disney California Adventure. It's not like that. This is very different. It's going to be a park-wide thing included in admission, just something to give you a reason to go exploring around Animal Kingdom, and there it is. Just a little preview of what's to come out here at Walt Disney World.
Hi, Ricky. Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, this is amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Inside the Magic, listener feedback.
I have really amassed a huge amount of email that I need to share one of these weeks on the show. I've done very little listener feedback lately because there's been so much going on, and I have so much more to share over the next few weeks. So I just want to put in a quick couple of few sort of timely emails here before we wrap up this week's show. And eventually, I swear, I will catch up on all of this, maybe in some mega listener feedback episode sometime in the coming weeks. But anyway, Cammie writes in, I definitely wanted to include this one here. She let me know that her dad, Kelly, who is a big fan of this show, is having some health issues at the moment, and so I did want to just put in a quick shout out to Cammie and to your dad, Kelly. Hope you're feeling very well and do get better soon. Moving on from there to an email in response to last week's show, a longtime listener, Faye, writes in and says, regarding the question from last week, Giselle is also barred from being an official Disney princess because she is, well, not a princess. She was about to become one had she married Prince Edward, but that never comes to pass because she chooses to stay in New York with Robert and open her dress company. And Faye does have a good point there. Of course, many have also looked at Mulan as not technically a princess and wondering why she's part of the Disney princess brand. So maybe Giselle and Mulan need to have a conversation there. I think Giselle's probably missing out on some, opportunities, licensing, and merchandising, and all that. She should probably get a cut for that. She could open even more dress companies, a whole franchise, perhaps. Anyway, next email, Michelle writes in and says, just finished listening to show 423. One of your other listeners was trying to decide between two locations for the Monte Cristo sandwich at Disneyland. Not sure if you're aware of this, but the Monte Cristo is not on the dinner menu at the Blue Bayou. My husband and I went to the Blue Bayou for dinner a few years ago, and imagine how surprised/depressed I was to find out the Monte Cristo is only available for lunch. This might help make the listener make his choice depending on what he was planning. Michelle, very good point there. It's something that I discovered also quite a long time ago, and one of the reasons why I do recommend Cafe Orleans instead, because I usually do get a Monte Cristo for lunch, not for dinner, because there's so many great dinner options around the Disneyland Resort. It's hard to sort of spend the time to get the Monte Cristo when I could go be doing a nice sit-down like Carthay Circle dinner, which is amazing. So yeah, definitely good point there. Back to the topic of princesses, Crystal writes in and says, my fiance loves watching your podcast, always telling me about it, and I have a question that even some Disney cast members wonder. How come there isn't that much Pocahontas merchandise at Disneyland? Is there ever going to be something new coming with her? Also, will they ever come back with the People Movers, especially now that they can make, or I know if they can now make it to ride, it would be cool to ride again, especially if they have it going through Interventions where they play Tron. Crystal, good questions there. I have no idea why there's not more Pocahontas merchandise. She's maybe just not that popular. No, that's not true. I know that's not true because if you watch the video that I have up from the ceremony of Merida becoming the 11th Disney princess from the Magic Kingdom, huge applause for Pocahontas and Mulan. And there is a fan base there. Disney focuses so much on the very select few princesses to really go for, Cinderella and Ariel and Belle. But yeah, they should spend a little more time on the others like Mulan and Pocahontas as well. As far as the People Movers, lots of rumors going around that maybe the People Mover could even become a Tron ride completely, not just a segment. Just rumors, though. I know it's been said many times that the People Mover track as is now is not going to happen. They would have to gut the thing, replace it completely, major construction project. It just doesn't function anymore ever since sort of Rocket Rod's fiasco from the 90s. That attraction never really worked. It's supposed to be sort of a high-speed, thrilling attraction up on the People Mover track. That really didn't work. And ever since then, it just has been a non-functional mess. So if anything does happen with the People Mover at Disneyland, it's going to require some major happenings out there. And we could do a couple of more emails here. Anna writes in, says, I wanted to let you know that the guest on the Nerdist Writers Panel podcast this week was Jason Fuchs. And if I'm pronouncing that right, he wrote the pilot for Big Thunder for ABC and Disney. And at the time of the interview, they did not know the show would not be picked up if... And they talk pretty in-depth about it. It's definitely worth a listen. The gist is that it's about a doctor who goes west in the gold rush and winds up in a mining town. There's some kind of spooky magic and kind of a lost feel, but for the whole family. It tells a great story about being offered to pitch an idea for the show and lying and saying Thunder Mountain Railroad was his absolute favorite ride, even though he had been too scared to ride it and hated roller coasters. And in researching the show, he rode it 7 times in one day and came down with a rare kind of vertigo. So, yeah, there it is. And Anna is saying that it won't see the light of day, that it wasn't picked up. I haven't heard anything about that, actually. Last I heard, they were still sort of in limbo about that, so maybe I'll have to research that a little bit further. And, yeah, let's just call it a day there. That'll do it for your listener feedback this week. And that'll wrap up show 425 of Inside the Magic. Just scratching the surface of the excitement over the last few days. I talked about the monstrous summer all-nighter, of course. A lot of excitement there. A lot of fun had on both coasts. Talked about Antarctica opening over at SeaWorld Orlando. You can see much, much more from that over on the website. I should also mention you can see the full welcome ceremony out here at the Magic Kingdom for the all-nighter as well over on the website and on YouTube. Simpsons announcement, huge deal. Video of and close-up look at the concept art of that over on our website as well. And Mickey and the Magic Map at Disneyland. The great show, great stage show. You can watch that on our website as well. And that really is just the beginning of all of it. Transformers The Ride 3D is on the near horizon for Universal Orlando. And as I said, I've got a lot to share from the Spooky Empire Mayhem and Halloween Extreme conventions as well, including a great interview and some more from Pat Carroll, the voice of Ursula. Definitely go check out that video that I mentioned earlier. It's just on the YouTube channel. I haven't even put it up on our website yet. Just look on our channel, youtube.com/InsideTheMagic for one of the most recent videos, Pat Carroll doing the Haunted Mansion Ghost Host. It is amazing. Definitely the highlight of the weekend. So anyway, I want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com. Also check out touringplans.com to help you plan your trip to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or Universal Orlando. Touringplans.com, 20% off code ITM as well. And search for Capturing Magic in the iTunes store to check out those iPhone apps to help you better manage your photo taking and magic memory gathering throughout the parks. And I should also mention I've got my own business, Lanyard Lab. LanyardLab.com is the website to see all of the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have available, and you can request a free price quote there with a free digital preview of your lanyard design. No obligation at all. Just check it out, LanyardLab.com. And of course, once again, our website, InsideTheMagic.net. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Again, I keep mentioning Snapchat, which is a lot of fun. It's kind of a personal way to communicate with some of you. All those links are over on the site and so much more. So thanks to all of you for watching and for listening every week. And have a magical week. Bye.
Just a dream of